Hello there, so Hyperemesis gravidarum update 2. Just to let you know, my son is home and will more than likely interrupt this multiple times because he chooses to ignore me throughout the day until I get on the phone. And as soon as I'm on the phone or making a video, that's it. He can't wait to be involved and talking to me and thinks of a million questions to ask. So as you can see, I actually do look quite a bit brighter. I look better. I look a lot more well than I have done in over a week. And that is because my last update was Sunday morning, and by Sunday evening I was in hospital. I had a really bad day. I was vomiting all day. I'd say it was a total of 70 times. And I realised that over 6 days I'd managed to keep down about 3 mouthfuls of mashed potato, and that was it. I told you. So I was very weak, very confused, very dazed, very sick, very unwell. And I was noticing as well that it had been a day and a half, if not longer, since I'd actually had a wee. And that then really concerned me and concerned my husband as well, who decided, okay, you need some help. So I thought, okay, I'll make it through the night, and then tomorrow I'm going to phone my doctor because I thought it'll be Monday. The doctor's surgery will be open. Sweetie, shush. So...
Where's Dad? My dad.
No, shush, Jacob. So... I've lost my train of thought completely. Yes, so I thought if I'd got through the night, I could phone up my doctor's Monday and that, I could book an appointment and everything would be fine and we'd get sorted. Then I noticed I was bleeding.
You are.
Sweetheart, I've never been a little boy.
Mom, you are a little boy.
I've never been a little boy.
You are thinking about it.
No. So...
Yeah,
then I noticed I was bleeding. And it wasn't pink or brown, it was bright red blood with small clots in it. So immediately I was so upset. I thought, it sounds incredibly selfish, but I just thought, I've just been through a week of hell for nothing. And then I knew how poorly I felt because I would never normally think about myself straight away like that. And then the realisation set in that I actually could be losing my baby. So I phoned 111, which is the British non-emergency medical helpline. But it can also connect you to out-of-hours doctors, etc. So it's just a very handy tool to use. So I phoned them. They took all my details, asked what was going on, and they decided that I did need to see a medical practitioner. So they sent me down to my local community hospital. It's a very, very small place. They just do very small outpatient, a few inpatient facilities, but not many. It's mostly outpatient and, blood tests, etc. So they sent me down there to be seen by a doctor who asked me to do a urine sample, and all I could manage was 2 millilitres of urine, and that was full of blood. So immediately he wasn't happy, but he used it to do the test that he wanted to use. So he did a pregnancy test, which of course came back positive, and he did the ketone test, which, as you know, when you have ketones in your urine, it could be that your body's starving, you're dehydrated. I know that there's such thing as a keto diet. It's not that sort of thing. If you've been starved, the ketones can be very dangerous. So he decided that the safest bet for me would be to go to the main hospital, which for us living in Yorkshire is York. So I went up to York Hospital, and when I arrived, they already had a bed waiting for me. They were fantastic. I cannot fault them in any way. From start to finish, my treatment was phenomenal. So when I arrived, I had a bed ready and waiting. They took me straight through to the room. I'm going to sneeze, I apologise. I might sneeze, I might not. Sometimes it threatens and never comes. So, they take me into my room, get me settled into my bed, and I'm there for about an hour and a half. An hour and a half. It's just settling in, getting used to my surroundings, and generally feeling very sorry for myself. And bless her heart, all of them, the midwives were rushed off their feet, bless them. And even so, they kept coming in to apologise to me for, not getting to me sooner, and I wish I could have reassured them more, but all I could manage was just it's okay, it's fine. But anyway, even so, within an hour and a half, the nurse came back in, she took all my details, did my obs. My blood pressure was abnormal, it's very low. My pulse was very low. I couldn't manage any more urine, so they couldn't test that. And they couldn't get any blood from me at all. My veins were just tiny. It actually took them about 25 minutes to get the cannula into, which had to go into my hand in the end, just to get the fluids around my body. I was very dehydrated that my veins had just gone into hiding. So they gave me 2 litres straight away over over 2 hours, so litre an hour. No, it wasn't, sorry, it was 1 litre to begin with over an hour, just to get it straight into my system and hopefully start making me feel a bit better. While they did this, they also injected the top of my bum cheek with, if I could remember the name of the drug, I would tell you, but it's an antiemetic and anti-sickness. So, and that was, it's sore, don't get me wrong, but when it kicks in, the relief, just to not feel that constant, because I was constantly retching by this point, even though there was nothing to come up, my body was having none of it and was still trying to, I think, eject my own organs at this point. So the fluids didn't really do much. I still couldn't manage to urinate, so they did another litre over 2 hours, and at this point they then came back in and did manage to get some blood from me, just enough to do the tests really, so that was something. And of course they did my beta HCG level, which I can't remember the exact number, but it came back at 67,000 or something like that. So I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, this happens a lot at the moment. Anyway, so they managed to get the blood, and then eventually after having, so that would be 3 litres in total of fluid that I've had, I managed to get a urine sample for them. And they tested that and decided that my ketones were still extremely high and they still needed to give me another couple of litres at least. So they decided to keep me in for the night. I had another injection and another 3 litres of fluid in total. The bleeding, I did notice that the less dehydrated okay, let's put this in a different way. The more hydrated I became, the less the bleeding was. So, as I started to feel a little bit better and my ketone levels were dropping.
Yeah, try one again.
No, shh. That's when the bleeding would really just start to subside. So they're not too sure what caused it, but anyway, they decided, because I'd had bleeding and pain as well, that they wanted to do a scan. Enough, thank you. So they wanted to do a scan to determine exactly how far along I was, and to also make sure that I had an intrauterine pregnancy and not, ectopic, or whether I'd had a miscarriage. So they told me that I'd need a scan, and anyway, went through the night, managed to get some sleep, which was a godsend. And then the next morning they come through to me and tell me that the nearest appointment for a scan would be a good few days away, and that they were terribly sorry, but they're very busy. And I thought, that's absolutely fine. I'm not in extreme pain, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm not urgent. However, the doctor seemed to disagree and wanted to get me in sooner. Fortunately, there was a cancellation, and they managed to get me in within half an hour of telling me that it would be a few days. So I had my scan at 12 o'clock the next afternoon, which determined that I was actually only 5 weeks and 5 days pregnant, instead of the 6 weeks and 3 days that I thought I would be. They did say that it's possible that actually I am the 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant, but that baby's just on the smaller side. That happens a lot apparently, and by the 12-week scan, quite often they can have caught up. But anyway, we saw a heartbeat. Everything looks good. It's all implanted correctly and in the right place, which in my womb, which is a good start. I will show you a picture that we got. It's the tiniest little bean, but we were delighted to see it. I say we, I went in alone due to the COVID. So there's my little bean right there, and it was 4.1 millimeters long. So that dated me at 5 weeks, 5 days. But as I said, that can all change. They can suddenly have a growth spurt, so to speak, and everything will change by the 12-week scan. So they've decided that I don't need any more scans until I'm 12 weeks, unless, of course, I have further bleeding or there's any complications. They prescribed me cyclazine hydrochloride, which is an antiemetic. 50 milligram 3 times a day. It's actually really, really helping. The only thing I noticed is that when the injections started to wear off, I was vomiting then, and it took a little while for the tablets to start kicking in. It was difficult to keep them down long enough to work, but now that I've got them in my system, I'm determined they're going to stay in my system. I've got them on repeat prescription, so I can just, continue to have them sent to my local pharmacy, and I'll just go and collect them. But as it stands, they're doing the world of good for me. I'm hoping that this will continue, because I've finally been able to do some day-to-day things, just doing a little bit of washing up and saying good morning to my son, and doing him some lunch today was amazing. I was so scared of how I was going to cope without my husband being here, because he's back at work today. So it was just, these tablets have been a godsend. But I would highly recommend that if anybody is really struggling, don't suffer alone. I had Hyperemesis gravidarum all the way through my previous pregnancy with my son, and I lived in Milton Keynes at the time, and they made me feel like I was a liar. They downplayed my symptoms massively. They wouldn't help me at all. I didn't even so much as get a prescription for anti-sickness medication, and it transpires that they didn't believe I had hyperemesis and in fact thought that I had an eating disorder. So after discovering that on my medical notes, I was furious, absolutely furious, because when I was pregnant with Jacob, I was very ill, very, very ill. I had wee the colour of Coke. I was really struggling, and it just all the way through from start to finish was horrific, to the point that labour was wonderful, because to me it was signalling the end of the suffering that I'd just been through. And yeah, so it's nice to be listened to, but you really don't downplay your symptoms. You know, if you're not well and you're starting to feel weak, don't feel silly for saying that. The one thing that I learned was to just open up, speak to somebody. I would do it again in a heartbeat, not suffer alone. Very much recommend, even if you, I know nobody likes going to hospital, but if you have to go to hospital to have a few fluids pop, to have a few units of fluid pop through your body to make you feel better, do it. I would massively, massively recommend that. So, a bit of a long update, I apologise, but that's where we are now. And I will update again in a few days to a week. Give the pills time to really kick in and see how we're actually doing. And I will let you know how it all goes. Take care. Bye.